Name is John Hancock, aka William Johnson. He is a noted historian on the United States Constitution. He is really a scholar on the Founding Fathers, and his mission this morning will be to put into context the original Boston Tea Party and how it relates to what's going on in this country today. Let's give a great big welcome to John Hancock.
Thank you, Dave, for that kind introduction. You will certainly go to heaven for your generosity if you don't go someplace a lot hotter for your exaggerations. I would borrow the words of Henry VIII, King of England, as he spoke to each of his wives when he said very concisely, "I won't keep you long." You may borrow that if you care to. To be serious about this, I ask you today, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. I want to remind you that the most important people here today are you out there, no one up here. It is in your hearts and your minds. And speaking of that, I ask you today to look to your hearts, to look to the way you feel about what it means to be an American. Not a hyphenated American, not an Irish American, Polish American, German American, African American. We are all in this soup together. As I look to you people, I see some wonderment, I see some arms crossed. I would like to pause for one moment and ask you each to look at the person sitting next to you, even if it's a stranger, and repeat after me. I love you. Feels better here already. Now let's cut to the chase. If you analyze American history, you will find that there are three significant founding events. In 1775, we declared a revolution with bloodshed at Lexington and Concord. In 1776, you all know very well that we declared our independence. And in 1788, we declared our nationhood. We declared it with a constitution. Now, how did all that start? In the 1760s, the British government imposed a big series of taxes, starting with sugar tax and ending with you all know that one, a tea tax. And all of that culminated in the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, and certainly Lexington and Concord. If those events had not happened, there's no doubt in my mind that that government would have probably taxed things like tobacco, rum, whiskey, tea. They already did, but maybe even healthcare. Could you imagine any government so conceived to do something like that? It aggravates me. What in the world was the Tea Party all about? Let me clear the air. Rumor has it that we were concerned about taxation without representation. That was certainly a fine sounding cry for us all. But the reality was Sam Adams, the Sons of Liberty, did not want representation in Parliament. We would have gotten voted down at every turn. No, we did not want that. We wanted something better. The long and the short of it is that the real argument was that here was a government telling us enforcing us, I should say, to buy a government-provided product with a government-endorsed company called the East India Company, which was too big to fail. And it was compounded with a forced price on the whole thing. That was the real case here, was that we were not subjects. We were citizens and we demanded our rights. Now by the way, what did we ultimately do? We threw it in the Boston Harbor. End of 342 chests. By the way, today's value of that would have been in excess of $800,000. And so the British government got very angry about that. How does that translate to what we have here today? It's really simple. In the greatest show of arrogance and self-righteousness, we have a Congress that really abused its citizenry by passing the largest tax increase and spending program in the nation's history without reading it. And what did they do when we complained? They ignored us. When we complain and we demand that they abide by the Constitution and secure our borders, what do? They ignore us. When they continue this rampant spending, knowing sure and certain that they will enslave our children and our grandchildren to a debt, a national debt that will never be paid, and when we complain about it, what do? They ignore us. Only when they feel the awful wrath of we the people marching in the streets, as we did in Boston in 1770, demanding and yelling that we want our country back, that they will get the message that they work for us.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Sadly, our public servants have become our masters. Taxation without representation was tyranny. Irresponsible spending of our tax dollars is downright criminal. But yet when we continue, I should say, to turn to our government and look to them to solve the problems that they created in the first place. Now the question I have is this: what do we do about it? The same question was raised with Sam Adams in 1768, when the Redcoats arrived in Boston. I can still see them today, marching up King Street abreast to the sound of fifes and drums, the sun glinting from their bayonets. The populace was terrified, and somebody said to Sam, "What are we going to do about that, confronting the largest government with this kind of force?" And his answer was slow and measured. With his palsied hand shaking, he spat on the ground and he said simply this: "It does not take a majority to prevail. It takes a irate, tireless minority, keen on spreading the sounds of liberty in the hearts and minds of men." As I look at this body of people here before me today, I see the same angry Americans wanting their country back. Now, we take this one step further. What in the world do we do about it? My good friend Thomas Jefferson put it simply this way: when you fear the government, there is tyranny. You've heard this before. And when the government fears you, there is liberty. What does tyranny mean? You know, we throw that word around a lot. If you study the Latin, it derives from the word tyrannus. And translated, that means simply this: illegitimate ruler. And we can do better than that. This does not take a revolution. It does not take tar and feathers. It takes nothing but a return to the basic tenets of the Constitution that we all have and know so well. Sam Adams had a neat phrase. He said, "When you have your enemy in the wrong, keep him there." We have been wronged. And I encourage you all to take personal responsibility, to own this. Adopt a few key issues that mean something to you collectively and individually. And then let your representatives, wherever they may be on the state or the national level, and tell them you're not going to put up with it. You will be heard. You will not be ignored. Let me shift gears here and talk very briefly, and I know I'm running over my time, sir. I need a young patriot. Is Michael in the audience? Michael, would you come back here with your dad, please? I have a copy, a Portsmouth copy of the Declaration of Independence. That's my gift to him. You may take that back. You're welcome. I know that someday that young man will read it. Unlike this gaggle of geese I have in Washington that might find the time. Let's talk about the Declaration. 14 years ago, I signed that on July 4th. I would draw your attention to a few passages of that declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You've all heard that before, I would assume. But let's parse two words out of that. One word is Creator. We declared that we have our rights given to us by a Creator, not a gaggle of geese in Washington, D.C. who think they're God. Secondly, there's another word. It's called unalienable. My friend Tom Jefferson, when he wrote that, he wrote the word inalienable, beginning with an I. And that means that no one can take your rights away. But in conference in Independence Hall, that word was changed to unalienable, beginning with a U. And that means not only can no one take your rights away, but you can't give them away. Now, that's precisely what we have done when we let a gaggle of geese who are pulling the strings, exempting themselves from the very laws that you are burdened with. We can do better. We can replace them.
Yes. Yes.
They will fear you, and they will certainly hear you. Ben Franklin was approached by a young lady right after the adoption of the Constitution. And she asked simply, "What have you given us, Mr. Franklin?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." We're going to keep this. Republic. I like the sound of the word. It means people can live free, talk free, go or come, buy or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose. Some words give you a feeling. Republic is one of those words that makes me tight in the throat. The same feeling a man gets when his baby takes his first step, or his first baby shaves and makes his first sound like a man. Some words give you a feeling that make your heart warm. Republic is one of those words. It has been my job to speak. It has been yours to listen. I pray we finished at the same time. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much. Let's hear it for the founding fathers.